We are estimating 3 to 4 weeks from the time that the body was found.
Authorities are still searching for her fiancé, Brian Laundrie, who returned to Florida without her after their trip across the western U.S. Microsoft operating system Windows 11 began its rollout last week as the company launched its new operating system to eligible devices on October 5th. Everyone already using Windows 10 can upgrade for free if they have a compatible computer. It should be noted that Microsoft is rolling out the operating system in phases, so your system may not prompt you to upgrade just yet. You still have the option to manually download Windows 11 and check out its features. On your PC, go to Settings, Update and Security, Windows Update, and check for updates. If available, you'll see the feature, click Download and Install. Thanks for listening. It's well appreciated. I'm Lance Pry, and we are USA Radio News.
Chronicles of Hope is essential reading for seekers of inspiration and spiritual empowerment. This series offers nourishment for those on a path of increased awareness at this challenging time. Inspired by higher sources of wisdom, Chronicles of Hope delivers messages to lift your spirit with a roadmap of hope and guidelines for living a life of expanded consciousness. The guides offer powerful insight for mental, emotional, and spiritual growth at this critical tipping point for humanity. The message is clear. We must change. We have the power to raise our vibrational energy individually and collectively before it's too late. I am Lois Herman, author of the best-selling Chronicles of Hope series and host of the Inspiring Hope radio show at WSMN.live or 95.3 FM. You can find me at loisherman.com or chroniclesofhope.net.
The views and opinions of the following show do not reflect those of WSMN, its owners, and/or associates.
Welcome to Inspiring Hope with Lois Herman, a leading expert in professional coaching, clinical hypnosis, and energy clearing. Lois is an award-winning author of Chronicles of Hope. She has decades of experience in advanced hypnosis techniques, has conducted highly effective success coaching programs that have helped clients discover ways to achieve success, empower themselves, their families, as well as holistic practitioners to expand their practices. Get ready to be empowered with your host, Lois Herman.
Good morning and welcome to Inspiring Hope. I am your host, Lois Herman, and I'm here to inspire you with positive messages and celebrate people who are making a difference in our world. When we focus our thoughts and energies on truth, honesty, and integrity, we create powerful shifts that cause us to be more positive and peaceful. As we lift our energy, we empower everyone around us. If we each do what we can to make small shifts in awareness, we create ripples of hope. Join us as catalysts for positive change for our families, our communities, and our world at large. I hope you're inspired by today's show. And today's show is about being aware and standing strong together. And how do we do this in our divided world? And to start, we need to be better informed, and it's hard to find the truth. Unfortunately, our media is paid to control our minds. They tell us what we need to hear, and we're discouraged from thinking for ourselves or asking the obvious questions. We almost need to be like a detective to discover information that's hidden from the average viewer. As we discover what is really going on around us, we wake up to some rather disturbing truths. I turned off the television over a year ago, yet my mind has never been so busy. I spend my evenings researching documentaries, presentations, and historical series to learn things I never imagined possible. Tragic stories that have been perpetrated on innocent people around the world for centuries. Being a very trusting person myself, I've been burned countless times by people I placed my trust in. So it should come as no surprise that self-serving people do have an agenda that is not about helping others. Although I could somewhat expect some politicians to be corrupt, the concept of discovering medical professionals prioritizing money over patient care has come as quite a shock to me. A retired diagnostic medical professional myself, I knew of many career-oriented medical staff who were just making a living and lacked true compassion for patients or staff. However, to discover that doctors are actually paid to kill people has been a rather hard pill to swallow. My passion for helping people transcend challenges using the power of their mind caused me to leave a medical director position over 9 years ago and travel down the path of creating a holistic wellness practice. Yet the main reason I left my medical career is because upper management had insisted that my staff do more patient exams in less time. Cranking through patients without providing enough time to make a definitive diagnosis went against my moral and ethical principles. Enforcing quantity over quality to make a profit to a professional quality control expert was tragic enough. Now, to discover MDs are deliberately giving kill shots to patients and mandating dire treatments that bring the hospital big bucks instead of helping patients has broken my heart. I've had to wrap my mind around the concept that there truly are some people who are subhuman. They're heartless, ruthless, and really don't care. These people are driven by greed, power, and control. What is even more tragic is the general public has been blind to these injustices because of the mental manipulation performed by our corrupt mainstream media. People really don't know the truth that is displayed right in front of their eyes. One of the blessings of seeing clearly in 2020 is that my questioning mind caused me to pull my head out of the sand of illusion. Things just didn't sit right with me, and I started asking questions. Having been politically independent most of my life, I was a busy single mom and was somewhat aware of most political issues. I had trusted the people in our government to do what is right and good for us. After all, we do have a constitution, right? Well, these past 2 years have afforded me quite the education. I have spent countless hours down the rabbit hole, exploring, learning, crying, and feeling completely betrayed by leaders, influencers, spiritual teachers, educators, entertainers, along with political, technological, medical, and legal representatives. I was surprised to learn that many of my fellow men and women are corrupt beyond belief. I must also state that I am truly inspired by the many people who are standing up for what is right against all odds. There are amazing doctors and professionals who are risking their own careers to stand for truth in our corrupt world. America's frontline doctors are one of my heroes in this war. Several years ago, while drafting the Chronicles of Hope book series, Jesus asked me to make the voices of the good people heard. So I started this radio show, thinking I would bring inspiration and hope to those who were discouraged. Little did I know what I was in for. As things unfolded, I was determined to dig deeper to find out just how pervasive evil is in our world. I had to separate myself from the toxic negativity as I mourned the loss of the grand illusion of my innocence. In my own life and spiritual practice, I have battled good and evil for years, yet I considered it an accidental or unwitting struggle. Now to realize there really are people who deliberately call upon evil to give them power at all costs has been shocking. Meanwhile, I also had to hold on to compassion for the innocent people who are completely unaware. As a hypnotist, I clearly see the mind control tactics being used on the unsuspecting public, along with the resulting mental aggressiveness as people parrot things they have absorbed. It's a very sad situation for everyone. Friends ask how I was able to learn the truth, wanting to know where to find the information. We're surrounded by an abundance of information. It's all around us, yet we're currently in an information war. Most truth is censored, subdued, ridiculed, or worse. We just need to know where to look. In what is called the truther community, we support one another and secretly share information to keep each other informed, yet stay under the radar to prevent being censored, blocked, or scorned. It makes it hard to find reliable sources of information. Over time, we learn whom we can trust. It takes a high level of discernment, of questioning everything and trusting only what our eyes can see and our hearts can feel to know the truth. Many groups meet regularly to share inside information, compare notes, and discuss possible truths, and hold the light of hope. We help each other with a high level of energy to assist in our collective ascension. Please reach out to me at lois@loisherman.com if you're interested in learning more about some of our groups. One piece of advice I can share is to avoid using certain search engines. We use DuckDuckGo for search engines, and we use BitChute or Rumble for videos. And most of us use Telegram for news resources. Although we still are on YouTube and Facebook, most of us shy away from posting anything controversial for fear of being taken down or inciting negativity from those who are blindly programmed. For those interested in learning more about alternative paths that allow one to question and think for yourselves, it can be somewhat challenging to find specific places to search. My guest today is compiling a valuable resource for those who are having to search far and wide for information, politically, medically, legally, and more. In just a moment, Jude Augusta will share his story and that of New Hampshire United. The ancient ones in the Chronicles of Hope told us years ago that it is ethics and morality that are the definitions of a civilization, not the things that the society can produce. Humanity has become very fixated on the material and needs to develop its own consciousness rather than its control over the material world. Humans need to use our creativity to stimulate positive thought and feel that what we create matters. We need to spark a turnaround to the positive before it's too late. Therefore, I have decided to spark a turnaround by starting a small wave of prayer-filled light that will touch people around the world in a continual cycle of prayer, of light. Please join me in a universal prayer for peace every day at 8 a.m. or p.m. or both. Set your alarm. Wherever you are, it doesn't matter. If we each spend 1 to 8 minutes morning and night to send prayer, light, love, gratitude, compassion, hope, and positive energy, together we will be the small ripple in this very large pond of humanity. We will make a difference. You are listening to Inspiring Hope with Lois Herman at WSMN 1590 Live or 95.3 FM. Please help us share these messages. Watch the videos on my Lois Herman Associates YouTube channel or website, loisherman.com, and join our Hope community for support and inspiration at chroniclesofhope.net. So yay, that's the theme song from Rocky Balboa. Yes, a good fight song. So today we're honored to have a wonderful gentleman who's dedicating his time to creating a resource for those who feel alone on this journey and are guided to do the right thing. Among other things, Jude Augusta is an attorney who, with his team, is establishing New Hampshire United to bring people together. Welcome, Jude. Are you there?
I am here.
Yes,
Thanks
good
for the intro.
morning.
Good morning to you.
So tell us a little bit about yourself, about your background.
Well, first of all, I forgot you were going to play that intro song, and it's hysterical because yesterday on we use a communications channel called Signal,
Yes.
which Elon Musk uses, and some other very clandestine McAfee type people suggest to use. It's just encrypted. We have these messages auto-delete. And so yesterday somebody was posting about going to this event, which is actually right now in Concord. It's called the No More COVID United We Stand event, basically trying to block the $27 million and all the strings that it comes attached with to funnel, Biden White House dollars into New Hampshire, and who knows what they'll control after. But he said in this post, we all have to fight. And he posted the Rocky Balboa theme song with Rocky running up the stairs in Philadelphia. And I said, that is so hysterical that you would post that. We were just talking about that theme song.
Yeah.
We were all on this journey individually, but also together.
Yes.
Fighting individual fights, but there's so many of us fighting individually in these little pockets around the state and indeed around the country and the world. We're trying to unite them together in New Hampshire United.
And I applaud you. I agree. As I was needing to share that my journey has been one of, where do I go to find this? And people ask me all the time. So I think what you're doing to create this resource is extremely valuable. Especially for people who are just waking up. I mean, there are a lot of people who have a whole lot more knowledge than I have. Although I tell you what, I've earned my PhD in world life over the past 2 years.
Indeed.
Yes.
Yeah, we all have. I mean, we are all in your network. I'm sure there's a whole bunch of people that have been canceled from social media,
Yes.
banned on social media, left social media, or they are cowed on social
Yes.
media, which is we're all in one or all of those categories at
Yes.
different times. So we've lost our voice, and
Right.
if we build a website, that website can be taken down, as we saw with Parler being taken off Amazon Web Services.
Right.
So we have all suffered this, and so yours truly, I get laughed at all the time. Oh, Jude's banned on Facebook again. What'd you do this time to end up in Facebook jail? Ha ha ha.
Yeah.
And at first I laughed, and then I thought, it's not funny.
No.
Because the last time it happened, Lois, I don't even know what I said. It was for comments allegedly made in the year 2020 and one in January 2021. And I don't know what they even said. But they said bullying. One was, I can't remember, but it was some sort of racially charged comment. I said, I work in a company of 38 black people where I'm the only white person and I love them and we get along hysterically. You're going to tell me that, making racially charged comments on public social media without showing me those, it's absurd. So, the obvious problem is that I built up a following, and so a lot of people would react when I would post something, which you mentioned earlier, known as the truth. And the left doesn't like that.
Right.
You might have seen recently there's a meme going around that has a pair of spectacles, and it says, stand up for something, even if it means you're standing alone. And in the spectacles, you can see like a flower growing through the cracks in the concrete. And Facebook warns that is a dangerous message, and it suppresses it. Just click here to see the image, and I'm like, this is the thing that's going all through social media right now. So we finally got frustrated and said, we have to come up with a platform that is durable, that people that don't have a web admin, a web developer guy, can build their own web presence, not be dependent on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter, even on LinkedIn, any sort of mainstream social media. So that's what for New Hampshire United. So basically, we're in development right now. We're in fundraising and development, where people can build a profile and build a group. And as you're building these profiles and groups, it'll say, we notice you're interested in Second Amendment, in voter integrity and anti-mask legislation and movements. You might also consider, hooking up with these groups and these movements and these, legislators and these bills. And so it'll basically funnel this mind hive of like-minded individuals and tenants together, so that the 13 moms fighting in Nashua who are frustrated might benefit from the moms that had success in Exeter, and
Right.
they don't know about them. And so these groups, if you look at NewHampshireUnited.com, there's a video in there, and it shows all these individual dots around the state showing, here's your group, it's 15 people. There's another group in Keene, it's 23 people. There's another group in Colebrook, that's 18 people. It stitches them all together, and now you're hundreds, if not thousands of people with the same voice, and you will be heard. And that's our basic MO.
And see, that's the beauty of technology, of today's technology. When people were censored years ago, we're talking pre-Nazi. That's exactly what happened to the Germans.
Yep.
They were censored, and people are not aware of this. If they just take a look around, the history is absolutely repeating itself. And we have the ability, that's the beauty of our technology, is to be able to do what you're doing. We can use it. We have to go behind the scenes right now, because these people who are the controllers are really controlling the narrative. They're not allowing people to think for themselves or to ask the questions, just even ask a question, to get both sides. I mean, that is the foundation of America, is to be able to look at both sides, to ask, to think for ourselves. And we are being programmed. And as I was saying in my monologue, as a hypnotist and an NLP master, I'm looking at this going, do not people see how controlling these statements are? And when you turn off the TV and you turn off the news, the commercials, even the entertainment, the cartoons, so much is being really, it's just been insidious and programmed into the mind of the unaware. But when you are aware,
Yes,
you see it
that's
everywhere.
I have a 9 and an 11-year-old, and we watch Nickelodeon and SpongeBob and Disney Channel and all those fun things for kids. And
Yes.
they're bombarded with
Mm-hmm.
commercials that say, I get treated differently because of my skin color. And, my daughter said, Daddy, how do we show black people that we love them? I said, by treating them the same as everybody else.
That's right.
She was blown away by that, because
Mm-hmm.
she thinks you have to go way out of your way to, make these accommodations for people. And then I saw on the Disney Channel commercial, I'm Dr. Anthony Fauci. I said, we're not watching this BS anymore.
No. Yeah, it's horrific. The lies that are being promulgated out there, and people buy into them, and that's the sad thing, is they don't even realize that they are being mind controlled, and then they, like you were saying there, I am one of the people who still have a Facebook presence. I don't like negativity. I have been through a lot of negative stuff in my life, so I avoid conflict. And when I post things and I see all these people coming back at others with these rants, I basically withdraw. I don't want to engage with these people. God love the people who are standing up and saying, that's not true. So I use, the way that I get my message out is through sending messages on the radio show and through blogs and things like this. But I am shocked at even the intellectual other hypnotists in my field who don't see how programmed they have been. It really, this aggressiveness is ridiculous.
And it starts at a young age.
Yes,
it does. We were watching the first episode of the new Muppet Show about 6 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
Kermit and Miss Piggy, two of my, heartfelt little loves as a child of my own. Their first interview candidate was RuPaul in drag. And I said, enough. You're not watching the show again.
No.
And I just, I don't have an issue with transgenders, but my kids don't need to learn about that in an entertainment comedy puppet show.
Exactly.
And so these people have been programmed, whether it's neurolinguistically or just bombarded with media, so much that, I thought that they were more corrupt and less ignorant. And I'm not using ignorant in an insulting sense of the term, I'm using it in the literal sense of the term.
Right.
I posted on Facebook the other day, I said, Democrats, do you agree with the liberal policy of letting in millions of illegals, regardless of criminal records, radical groups that they may be in, or virus checks and vaccination status just so they can vote illegally for Democrats. And my friend Dan said, Democrats do not want to open borders. Where did you hear that? That is inaccurate. And I said, I'm going to stop calling you Dan Quixote, and I envy you.
Yeah.
And, you know, you mentioned earlier, these people, some of them legitimately believe, he legitimately believes, these people legitimately believe in the virtue of some of these things that they're doing. Now, a lot of them don't, and that's who we're appealing to. So I endorse the use of Facebook, and in fact, we're going to make our system backwards compatible so that when you post something, you can say, you know, do you want to also post to Facebook, Instagram, Twitter,
Right.
or, you know, other social media, because we will never win this fight, and the fight is to get the truth out,
Right.
unless we get to the independents. And New Hampshire is 40% independent, 20% Republican, 20% Democrat.
Interesting.
I know several people that voted for Joe Biden that also voted for Chris Sununu, and they're not bad people. One of them is this kick-ass, huge, 255-pound Army Ranger bald guy that used to wear a monocular, you know, night vision,
Yeah.
and have an M16 and kick down doors and say hit the floor and clear houses in Kandahar. He
Wow.
voted for Biden and he voted for Sununu because he didn't like Trump's delivery, which I understand.
Yeah.
So if we go with the Mike Lindell platform or the Trump platform or Cloud Hub or any of these conservative platforms, we will never get to that 40%.
Right.
And it is a waste of time.
Because they've
So
been
we wanna make
programmed. Again, the media has done such a good smear campaign against certain people. And
Will
instead
they
of.
continue?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, now the parents that are concerned about kids' education are domestic terrorists.
Can you
So
imagine?
it continues. So we have to have something that is not middle of the road, but does access the middle of the road, because that 40% independent vote in New Hampshire is what tips the scale. So
Exactly.
people have noticed Sununu maybe has gone more left than when he first started, and they believe it's probably because he's running for Senate. And I don't know if that's true or not. He's a masterful politician, and I don't knock him at all for doing that, because he is gathering up those people that voted for Biden and voted for him, you know, the governor, to vote for him for Senate, if that's the case. And that's the way to do it. You know, that's the smart politician's angle. And they can get ticked off about that, but that is going to be very effective. We have to, take a similar tack and say, we have to, get something in front of these people that will not turn them up and say, we're all Trumplicans, we're all, Trump chest beaters and all that. Even if we all are, we just have to, be embracing and cordial and use facts and logic and arguments instead of, chanting and beating people down. Although Let's Go Brandon is one of my favorite chants.
I agree with you. It tickles me to see all of the, it started off at the college games, and it's like, yes, we've got to get the young people revved up because they are our future. And we've got to get them paying attention and thinking for themselves, because a lot of the colleges have been programming the students. And so that tickled my heart to see them standing up and really thinking for themselves. And we've got to start that. We've got to critically assess what is really going on here. The whole thing about the masks and the fact that we're fighting a virus that has 99-point-something% accuracy, depending or recovery rate depending upon your age. It's really, you've got to stop back and sit back and think, what is really going on? What is the real agenda here? It's not about health. This is not about health.
I do not know.
Yeah.
I do not know.
Mm-hmm.
I struggle with that because people say it's about control. I'm like, well, if they want you to wear a mask, what does that prove? Is that a stepping stone so that they can make you do something else in the future? But, the masks are silly. Mm-hmm. My whole family just went through COVID last week, and, it knocks you down.
Sure
but,
it does.
My wife has a immunodeficiency, and she was fine in a couple of days.
Right.
So it's when you get a cold, it knocks you down. You get
exactly,
the flu.
And I know that I know several people. I actually had COVID back in February of 2020, before I knew what it was, and it was nasty. And I was down for a long, for 3 weeks. It really did kick me. But I then started to really use my supplements, use these to boost my immune system, and I recovered. And I have several other friends who have gotten it, and they've recovered. It takes using the right supplements that have been discouraged by the political medical community, which is this is where it just breaks my heart that these people have their own private agenda to where they would rather see people suffer than give them the tools that they need to recover and to get well. So I turn to the America's Frontline Doctors, and I watch a lot of them, and these are people who are very well respected professionals that are putting their careers and their whole their life on the line to bring the truth out there. So it's them, and then also my hat goes off to the pilots who are
love them.
Yeah. So and what's interesting is the mainstream media is not putting out there that the reason that so many flights are shut down, they're saying it's because of weather. And look outside, it's absolutely beautiful.
Well, my wife was quick to dispel that myth. And my wife is pretty middle of the road and level-headed. She goes, I told her about the Southwest flights canceled. She goes, what are they saying? I said, they said it's for weather. She goes, how do they explain that they're the only airline that's having weather all around the United States and no other airline is?
Right.
They kind of miss that.
Yeah, exactly. But
So
people buy it.
They don't. I don't think they're buying it.
I'm
the
hoping
problem the left is
so.
having. Nancy Pelosi was just on the news yesterday, and somebody asked her during a press conference, "Why aren't you, getting more buy-in for your $3.5 trillion plan?" She goes, "Because you're not selling it," she said to the media interviewer asking the question. And this was at a press conference, and it was amazing that she's basically saying, you guys are breaking protocol. You're not getting with the team.
That's right.
And so these kids that are chanting, the FJB, and the reporter recanted as, let's go, Brandon.
Right.
We're not buying it anymore.
No.
Nobody's buying it. I think they're afraid because it's done. And here's the silver lining. The Democrats have been infiltrated by the communists for 50 to 70 years.
Yes.
And I don't know one Democrat that will burn a flag, not stand for the anthem, not put their hand over their heart, not salute the flag, that isn't patriotic at all. I don't know one Democrat that is one of these crazies on the
Not the
TV.
old school Democrats, the people who have been Democrats for a long time. That they still have that patriotism in them. They've just again been blindsided. They're not aware of what's really going on behind the scenes.
And so the good news is that it took 50 to 70 years to infiltrate all the schools and all that because we had to do it manually with pieces of paper and books and homework and reviewing essays and all that. Now we have the internet, so we can undo that in 5 years.
Right.
And we're seeing that. You've probably encountered so many people that have gotten involved with a school board or school committee in the past 12 to 18 months that never endeavored any interaction with a school committee or school board before in their life.
Absolutely.
Now they're
and
running.
It's good to see that. It's
protesting.
absolutely good to see that. Yes.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So we let this happen to ourselves, but America has the unique advantage in that we've had freedom for a long time. And so when you want to yank that away from people and throw them in bondage, they will not let it go. We have firearms, we have grit, we have guts, we have memories, and we have appreciation for freedom. And so we will say, you have drawn the line too far. And that is happening to Biden right now. And we don't know if that's on purpose, so that we can usher in Kamala, but she won't get very far either because the midterms are coming. They're going to cheat again. We're watching like hawks. And if they go too far with cheating, then, things get done the ugly way, and nobody wants that.
Yeah. And that's the sad part is that this group of people feel that it's about winning at all costs. It doesn't matter. Take no prisoners. So they have no sense of having to play fairly. They don't care. There is a blackness in their heart and in their eyes. They do not have that human compassion, kindness, that spiritualness. They are about greed and power. And that's unfortunate. And so what happens is the people who are more compassionate are trying to play by the rules. And they have been for years playing by the rules only to get blown over by the people who have no rules. So that's part of what I'm seeing and hearing is going on is we're still attempting to play with integrity, which is important, against people who have no integrity.
No, you're right. And as a matter of fact, Dan Quixote, who I invoked earlier,
yes,
back when Kerry was running for president. There was news during the election that night. We're on Yahoo Instant Messenger, if you can remember that. And I said, Kerry just threw away all of the overseas troops' boats. He threw some contingency. He got them all thrown out. And Dan Quixote typed, whatever it takes, ... And I will never forget that betrayal.
Yep.
I stood up from my couch with my hand on my chest, and I was literally aghast.
Right.
And I don't get aghast.
Yeah.
And I thought, holy bleep, there is nothing he won't, tolerate in order to win.
Yeah.
And so, but this is the same guy that I mentioned earlier. It says that Democrats don't want open borders. He legitimately believes that. I mean, their mind it's corrupted by societal media that has infiltrated them since birth. And he's a kid who grew up in Westchester County, never got his fingernails dirty, and cashed out of a .com at 22 years old or whatever. So,
right.
There's no convincing him he's wrong about anything.
Yeah, there's an arrogance. There's a real arrogance there that needs to be understood more than anything. And what the average person, again, like I said, I've been an independent. I've always just assessed a character, the character of the person running, and voted my conscience. Now I look back and go, I was taken in by the propaganda because I didn't take the time to dig deeper. So I respect what you're doing is putting all of that stuff together, because it's taken quite the quest to dig for this information, to find this information, to educate myself as to, holy cannoli, what is really going on in our world today. And as a spiritual teacher and a retired medical professional, I am shocked, as I said, by both the spiritual community. There are so many spiritual leaders and teachers who are proponents of the what I call the shadow. And it's because of where their allegiance is, unfortunately. It's not in the true light. It's not in the true...
It's embarrassing, too.
Yes, it is.
When Joel Osteen came out, in support of vaccinations, I was blown away, and our churches are cowed because they have the tax exempt status.
Exactly.
So that's what this protest today in Concord is about. It's saying, what else comes with that money if we take it for the vaccination database? We don't want that. You see what happens because the churches cannot say, vote against abortion, vote for your, with your heart, vote for righteousness, vote in any capacity. They can't even use that word. So they're cowed. And we also see, I'm a recovering Catholic.
That's my word. I'm glad to share it with you.
Recovering Catholic,
yes.
Recovering attorney. I just follow the Bible. If it's in the Bible, I pay attention. If it's not, I don't give it much credence. But, you see a lot of these preachers that are basically cowed by the media and the political left, which is the weapon of the enemy. And they're letting him run the church that they're the pastor of. It blows my mind. Well,
think about the fact that Pelosi has been a huge proponent of late-term abortions, and here she was spending her weekend with the Pope. There's some confusion here in my brain. If you're Catholic, aren't you supposed to be anti-abortion? But now we're going to celebrate this person who is really pushing late-term abortions, and that's a big button for me because as an ultrasound diagnostician from the early 70s, I actually worked a job where I used to date for abortions, and it broke my heart. I ended up leaving it. I couldn't take it because here I would have this poor woman who had been through IVF program and had, her baby was dead, that she had worked so hard. And the next patient would come in, this young woman with this beautiful, vibrant fetus moving, and I was having to date for... At that time, it was a 12-week cutoff for abortion. Anything over 12 weeks, you could not abort. And now, to do that, those babies are real living beings. I've watched them. They can hear you. They respond. I've seen that from my diagnostic ultrasound background. Once they get to a certain, yes, the early embryos are, if they're not viable outside of the mother's womb, That's a different story. But at some point, they are very, very aware. They put their hands over their ears when we would put the ultrasound
Wow.
transducer. They would hear it and they would move their head away. They would perk up to the sound of their dad's voice. It was very interesting. They were very responsive, very aware beings, and most of them, could live outside of the uterus after a certain point. And so the whole concept of terminating is unconscionable to my brain. It's just because you basically are having to kill a life at that point. So,
Well, I think the left has used the priest, sex scandal very effectively
oh
to
yeah.
turn people off, and they've also used the image of the nun with the ruler cracking the knuckles
Mm-hmm.
as the mitigator to ever get religion allowed in school
Mm-hmm.
again. And I think that has to end because as a recovering attorney, there is no dogma in the Constitution that says there is a separation of church and state. That line does not exist. There's the Establishment Clause, which basically says you will not establish a religion or prevent the establishment of a religion. So basically, you keep out of it. And so these schools have every opportunity to say, if you want to have a Christian class or a Muslim class or a Jewish class, and you want to fund it, you can get community money, and you can even rent the class from us, the classroom from us. They have every right to do that. It's just when they tie the federal funds and the state funds to it, they control it, and that's
Mm-hmm.
how they got rid of it, and that's how they've basically made abortion cool and easy and hip. And Instagram, these TikTokers and
Yeah.
Instagram personalities, gods to replace Jesus and
Mm-hmm.
the real God. So that's what people look up to now. I mean, these people that follow TikTok, I don't understand it. They just flip through video after video after video, and
No.
there's these creepy voices and nonsense, and they just crave it, and they want to be these YouTubers and TikTokers. And we saw the kid, the transgender with the long white fingernails and the heels and the white suit, doing the vaccination promotion at the White House as Afghanistan fell.
Mm.
You know,
Yeah.
so that's what we're glorifying these days.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, and that's all the whole satanic thing. I mean, once you start to be
Absolutely.
aware of it, you see it everywhere. The halftime show. Can people not see what that is? It really,
Yeah.
there's so much of this that is in our mainstream, our entertainment. And so people have been conditioned to think that this is normal, that this is okay. It is not. It really messes with people's minds. And it takes them away from that God connection, that true spiritual heart, mind, and spiritual energy connection. And that's the risk that people are taking with this, is that they're becoming robotic. They're losing their kindness, their compassion, their sense of connectedness with their fellow man.
No, and the saddest thing is that if they don't have followers and they're not quote liked on Instagram and Facebook, they feel a sense of worthlessness,
Mm.
and they take it out on themselves. They take it out on other people. They drag other people down with them. There's only one individual that matters if they love you or not. And that's Jesus,
Mm-hmm.
and He does, and they don't know that because they've been told that He's fake. He's this mythical creature in some fallacy in an old storybook. And so, and if you talk about, the Bible, you're considered a lunatic.
Mm-hmm.
And so they've done a very great job of that. However, we have seen a satanic war. There is a battle that has become
There is.
cosmically obvious
Mm-hmm.
to more people in the past, 18 months than ever before. And it started, with the election. I think people finally realized they have to wake up. The bad part about it is that so many people prophesied, and there's the QAnon crowd that is very vulnerable with this stuff, that they prophesied Trump is still in control. He has control of the generals. This is all a sham, and some of them still believe that. And I think that's a promulgation by the left to make us all lose credibility. And I see these posts all the time, and I pity these people that don't have any credibility behind their boasts, and I would love for them to be true, but it's not true. We have
Well,
to
that
win
is
this
the
manually.
challenge. That is the challenge, is we don't know what is true. No matter where you look, you have to discern for yourself, is this true, is this not? And I agree with you that we had to go into this darkness in order to
Yeah.
expose how corrupt our world is. And that's the big thing, is that people like me waking up and going, holy cow, where have I been? I've been a busy single mom, a spiritual seeker, not just trusting that everything else is in place, and it has not been. And so I would implore people to take a look beyond what they think is obvious. My illusion has been shattered, and I now see clearly that there is a sinister side that's going on, that's driving communism and socialism, and people don't realize how bad it could be. If you want to look back at what happened, I had a good friend whose father was, captured in Nazi Germany. She escaped, she and her mother, and hid in the caves in the south of France. So, and she would tell me stories. I actually lived in Germany for 6 years and went to Dachau. I went to the Anne Frank house. I saw
Wow.
and felt the angst and the energy and the horror of what went on there. And people don't
Terror.
realize that the first people that were captured were the innocent Germans. They believed what they were told by their controllers. And that's where then it started down that path. And that's exactly where we're poised again. We've got to wake up, and we have the ability, as you said, we have enough strength within us to stop this. We just have to support one another and find the truth. Be able to go
Yeah.
to a place to get real information, because everything is being censored in the social media circles.
Well, we're going to try to aggregate information in
Yay.
like a Google Docs, format, so that
Yeah.
people have a repository so that they can refer to things. Because the problem with Signal, the problem with Telegram, you can't search it. Things
Right.
evaporate, by
Yeah.
design, so that we don't get in trouble with breadcrumbs. Breadcrumbs of truth, but breadcrumbs anyways. So we'll have a repository, and people can go there and find different
That's
documentation
great.
for having control over your local school board. Ken Ehring out of Wyndham put together a document and a fiat that shows how you actually have authority above your school committee and your school board in your town. But that evaporates in a day or a week or whatever you have your time limit set to. And then we also have each other to depend on for truth, as opposed to, this might ruffle some feathers, but Sidney Powell and Lynn Wood, I think they're complete charlatans. They both said, I guarantee Joe Biden will not be president. Joe Biden will be in prison. They took a lot of money from a lot of people. I gave them several $100s. I encourage people on every social media platform, if you care about this country, you have to donate at least $50 to these people. And where did that money go? And what has happened to them? Nothing bad. They just enriched themselves. And I don't think that they're bad people. I just think that they were boastful and didn't have the right to tell us with confidence that what was going to happen because it didn't. And now people that are very optimistic about the election recounts and all the investigations going on, they don't realize that there is no constitutional fiat to unseat a president who cheated in an election. I don't mean to be the bearer of bad news, but that is the truth. The only way to do it is through revolution. I mean, that's why they put the Second Amendment in the Constitution. But there's no constitutional fiat saying, well, we figured out this guy cheated in all these states, and now we have to unseat him.
And
There's
what's
no
interesting,
process for that.
what is interesting is then, these channeled insights that I got, one of them said, you need to look at what your forefathers did. You've got to, step up. The people have to take back control of their world. And I think that the problem is listening to so many of these different people who are attempting to do what is good. Their hands are tied in so many ways. It used to be there were people who said, well, by this date, something's going to happen. But there's so many tentacles on the shadow side that makes those dates impossible to hold truth, because you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what all might happen. We only have a small piece of the puzzle, and there's a lot more going on behind the scenes than we could ever know of.
Correct.
So what do you suggest people do? They've got to take an action. They've got to get involved in local government, school board, town government. What do you recommend?
All of that. And so, what we have been frustrated by is the fact that, you want to do something, but you feel so alone.
Mm-hmm.
And so New Hampshire United will basically expose your group and your tenant and the legislation and candidate you're trying to foster to others that are similarly situated, that have the same mindset as you, to eliminate and eviscerate and destroy that frustration that people have had and replace it with empowerment and strength and confidence. And so if people want to help join our fight, if they can donate $5 at New Hampshire United or more than that or whatever, it'll just accelerate the timeline where we'll be able to deliver this product, because we're going to have all these people that have frustration that they can't post on social media, or they won't post on social media because they're cowed,
Mm-hmm.
or they don't want to get beat up by the liberal piranha that will attack them,
Right.
or they don't want to lose their account, because they have pictures of their children they want to post on there and see annual reminders of. We will get the ability to get around all that. You can avoid social media. You can double post on New Hampshire United and social media. And ideally what we'd like to do is have, when somebody interacts with a post on your social media that you initiated on New Hampshire United, it will reverse and go to your New Hampshire United account and show that they've liked this post or interacted with it. So that basically we're drawing them away from their social media into New Hampshire United, and therefore drawing more of those 40% in the middle of New Hampshire voters away from their social media into the middle, because they don't get the truth on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram.
No.
And they're not going to join a Trump platform or a Mike Lindell platform. But
Right.
if they join this platform that makes it easier, that's all it does, is makes it easier for them to post their selfie of their great golf shot or their martini $13 drink on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and whatever social media they have, instead of having to post it 2 or 3 times. That's great. That will draw them. For the warriors, your listeners, the convenience is that they post on Signal, they post on Telegram, they post on Facebook, they post on Instagram, they post on Twitter, they email people, they have a text chain.
Right.
This will be able to replace all of that. So they'll be able to post in one place and say, check all these boxes, I want to cross-post in all these different groups, and be done with it, instead of having to have these carpet bombs on all these different Telegram channels, Signal channels, Facebook groups, and all of that.
And they can find you at nhunited.com, is that right?
It's fully spelled out, NewHampshireUnited.com.
It's
Somebody's
okay.
squatting on the abbreviated domain.
Oh, it's New Hampshire United spelled out. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Wonderful. So we're looking forward to seeing this soon. And we have just 1 minute left. Is there any last insight you'd like to share?
Well, I will say that, I moved to New Hampshire 20 years ago, a little longer than that. And we had this initial program called New Hampshire Red Carpet. We're trying to encourage people to come to New Hampshire from other states. And this shunning that we do, which I think is foolish, because so many of us are transplants from the People's Republic of Massachusetts or, Connecticut, or we came to New Hampshire for freedom. Lois, on my arm, I have tattooed the state of New Hampshire, but live free or die. I love this state. I battle for the state all the time. It costs me a lot of goodwill. And I think we need to embrace those people and say, we want you to move to New Hampshire. We want more of your people to move here. Not shun people that are transplants to New Hampshire from other states. Some of them move here for the wrong reasons. We know that. They move here. They don't know why the state is better. They don't know why their house is cheaper, why they have no income tax and all that. They bring their politics with them, but we can embrace them. And
wonderful.
If we talk to them the way Sununu does in the middle, we can court them. If we just shun them and call them stupid liberals from another state, they will turn us off, and we will never get them, and we will lose that 1 to 2.5% we need to.
We're going to have you come back on. We have lots to share. Thank you so very much for your time. Thank you, listeners. Until next week, look up, stay positive, and be the light in someone's day. God bless.